For once, the trunks were minimal when Antoinette traveled. Consuela would be her companion all the way to New Orleans and have control of the money. Red made sure that Antoinette's horse and saddle were securely kept under guard. Both he and the Senora heaved a sigh of relief when the stage rolled out of Wooden. Daniel was just barely able to sit up, and the men had orders to shoot if he left within the week. Red was confident he'd covered every possibility. Right now, he needed Margrethe back at the books, as he had another grain-buying trip to complete before heading to Galveston to arrange the shipping to a South American warehouse. They had been in the stage for 4 days before Antoinette began to be anxious. They were but 2 days away from Houston, and the boat taking her to New Orleans. She had been praying to the Virgin, the Saints, and the Holy Trinity that Lorenz had received her letter in time. He should have, but where was he? She couldn't see him riding up and stopping the stage, and she certainly didn't want anyone to be injured. Consuela sat prim and perspiring in the summer heat, her dark clothes drawing in more heat. Antoinette dabbed daintily at her brow with her hanky as they bounced and jolted over the roads. The driver pulled the horses into the stage stop as close to noon as possible. "Everybody out. You all have 30 minutes to eat while we get the horses changed." Antoinette stepped down and brushed the dust from her clothes and swallowed. A tall young man was standing by the corrals with a saddled horse. He tugged at the front brim of his hat and walked the animal behind the wooden stable. "I believe I need to use the facilities," she whispered to Consuela, and noted the look of relief on the older woman's face. Consuela tried to keep up with the long strides Antoinette was taking, and failed. The outhouse for women was set off to the side, and Antoinette scooted in first and locked the door. She hurriedly did what nature demanded, exited, and let Consuela in. She nodded at the other woman waiting, and walked briskly to the back of the stable. Lorenz smiled at her, his gray eyes glowing, the scar on his right cheek dragging the lip line upward, and her heart went to her throat. Strange, that was all he had to do. Smile. "Let's go." He boosted her up onto the horse before swinging up behind her. He held his horse to a trot until they were over the rise, and then kicked it into a gallop. They rode into a small, hidden gully, and Lorenz collected 2 more horses, one carefully laden with camp goods, the second equipped with the regular saddle and bridle for her. She hooked her leg around the saddle horn, as sitting astride would have shown too much leg. Later, when she had time to think, Antoinette would wonder how he knew to wait for her at that stage stop, with the extra horses and equipment hidden away. They rode steadily for an hour, and then walked the horses. Lorenz seemed to be deep in thought, but his eyes kept searching the surrounding landscape. Finally, as the sun began to set, he found a small wooded area, and they dismounted. "I'm afraid this will be a grueling trip for y'all." His concern showed in his eyes. "We'll have to keep a steady pace for days. I don't think anyone is following us, but we'll eat a cold supper tonight just in case." "I'm a Texan." Antoinette smiled at him. "Were y'all able to bring me anything in the way of clothes?" "I didn't have time to find anything for ladies." He looked at her doubtfully. "I threw in an extra pair of my trousers and a shirt. Y'all can roll up the trousers. There's also a regular hat. It's a little beat up, but it will be better than that doodad on your head."